Okay, so to continue with the story, what ended up happening is, like I said, my dad got the shoot-away machine when I was in the 7th grade. I was one of the best players in the country. But even in the 7th grade, I remember, even the first day of the 7th grade, first day of school at Harvard Westlake, one of the best schools in the country, I was shooting in the backyard, and my dad was like, Ryan, you're shooting square. What's wrong? What are you doing? It's because you're shooting with your left foot in front of your right. I was picking the ball off the shoot-away rack. At the time, I didn't know. At the time, he didn't know. If I could explain it to him, maybe he would know, but I can't go into details because I want to make it sure sync. But if I could go into details, I'd convince everybody. But because I can't, I'm just give surface level, but just trust me, shoot-away machine messed it up. So I'm picking the ball off the rack. I'm shooting with my left foot from my right. I'll kind of show again kind of what happened. So I was picking the ball off the rack, and like I said, I have videos. I'm picking the ball off the rack like this. The ball's right here, the rack's right here. I'm picking it up and I'm going like this, and I'm shooting my left foot from my right because I'm picking the ball off the rack and I'm going like that. I have videos of me after the shoot-away messed up my shot, and I'm picking the ball off the rack, and I'm picking the ball, catching the ball in the games, and I'm going like this, and I'm shooting, or I'm just catching it like this, like I'm going into it and I'm catching it and just going like this and shooting. Make my left foot going from my right, my left foot pointing straight forward instead of before when I would shoot with my left foot pointed out and my right foot pointed forward like this. All right, so that's basically what happened. So, but that was going on in the 7th grade. And my dad was like, what's stuff in here? I was like, what's wrong with your shot? You're shooting left foot in front of your right. You're shooting square. So this is going on in 7th grade, and I remember my dad and I were getting in arguments, and even in the 7th grade, and this is why my grandpa was like, Ryan, it wasn't the shoot-away machine. It was because you were playing against bigger, better players, and your dad got upset, and then because you were getting frustrated, and that's the problem that happened, and that's why your dad beat you up. Okay, so he's trying to say because he was thinking in high school I was playing against bigger, better players. No, this was happening in 7th grade. In 7th grade, my dad and mom took me to the psychologist because me and my dad were arguing about my shot. And then when they took him to the psychologist, again, this is a problem, is my mom and dad were trying to come up with reasons. What's going on? My grandpa comes in, well, maybe it's because he wants to be independent. No, it was a shoot-away machine. But this time my mom and dad were like talking to the psychologist, and the psychologist was like, what's the problem? And my mom and dad were like, well, he gets straight A's. He's the best player on his basketball team. I was the best player in the country. The shoot-away machine messed me up, though. So even though the shoot-away machine messed me up, I was still one of the best, right? But he's the best, he's the best player on his team. Like, we don't know what's wrong, really. They couldn't explain about the shoot-away machine because they didn't know. I didn't know either. So then the doctor was like, my mom and dad wanted to put me on medicine in the 7th grade because my shot was messed up. Me and my dad were arguing. And then the doctor's like, well, if there's no problem, like, sometimes when things are too perfect, people try to find something to be upset about. And my mom and dad are like, oh, that must be it. Yeah, things are too perfect. That must be the problem. No, it was a shoot-away machine, but we didn't know that. And the thing continued in high school, all the way up to high school. And then again, like I said, 10th grade, I lost my starting spot, so I'm shooting in the backyard. But I was like, why are you shooting with your left foot in front of your right? What's going on? Shoot. And then he tried to, and then he goes, I give up. I can't help you anymore. You fucking suck. There's no use. There's no use. Every time I fix it, it goes bad again. He never, it was a shoot-away machine. So then he goes in, and then I'm like, Dad, I need your help. And then he's like, you ask me again, I'm gonna fuck you up. And then he grabs me, throws me to the ground. So, and then, yeah, so then that was and then my dad goes out and he's like, okay. And he tries to fix it. So this was about, how's it going? make a video. This is about the 10th grade. Tries to fix it. So I shot like this. Left foot pointed out, right foot pointed forward. And then because I'm picking the ball off the rack, I'm going like this, putting my left foot forward. And then my dad was like, well, shoot sideways, pick the ball off the rack, and then go like this. Keep your left foot forward and go like this. So I'm in the backyard shooting like this. Exactly wrong. Whereas before I shot like this. Both ways I'm sideways, but my dad told me to do the exact wrong thing with my feet. And the good shooters do it the way that I did it originally when I was the best shooter in the country. So then my dad's like, shoot like that. And then, of course, I'm going to be shooting bad. And, of course, things are going to be chaos because I'm doing the exact wrong thing. The exact opposite of what good shooters do. And it's not just that. If I was just shooting naturally, just getting catches from my dad, I would have been doing it naturally because it's all about how you move into shots. But I didn't know that. And I would like more videos so I can study, but I'm not going to go into details because I don't want to make good shooters think. But, so then, things just went to chaos. And then my mom's like, what's wrong with you? You're a shooter. What's going on? She went to my game. She's like, my first game, one of my freshman year. She went to one of my games. And then she stopped going to my games. She's like, you're a shooter. I'm embarrassed. You fucking suck. What's wrong with you? You're a shooter. You're a scorer. My dad's like, Marla, he's doing fine. Because I was a starting point guard on varsity. But my shot was messed up because of the shoot-away machine. And my mom, what's wrong with you? Well, the shoot-away machine. But she didn't know that. I didn't know that. I figured that out in college looking at the videos. So, things are going bad. I need my dad's help. And then my dad finally, my grandpa comes in. My grandpa's like, oh, what Ryan really wants is independence. No, it's a shoot-away machine. What Ryan really wants is independence. This is normal. This is natural. My mom and dad are like, oh, so Ryan just wants independence? Okay, kick him out. So then I'm kicked out, but I want to come back because I need help from my dad. So I'm coming back, going back and forth. But then finally what ends up happening is I'm, my dad's beating me up because, the same story would go on and on. Dad, I need your help. I give up. No, I can't. He'd help me, but then he'd get frustrated. Oh, you suck. It's no use. You shoot like this. What are you doing? And then he'd tell me to do the exact wrong thing. So then finally, my dad's beating me up. And as my dad would beat me up, my mom would look at me and she'd be like, look at how ugly he is. Look at him. He's a fucking loser. You look at all those zits on his face. He's so fucking ugly. As my dad's beating me up. One time my mom was hitting me too. When I was in the bathroom, going to the bathroom, my mom opened the door and she started punching me, hitting me. But, but again, like, it was a tragic situation because my grandpa's there. He's like, Ryan just wants independence. Ryan, your dad, you can't make things happen. You're trying to get your help from your dad. You can't make things happen. But I needed my dad's help, and if it wasn't for the shooting machine, none of this would have happened. So, but in my grandpa's mind, my grandpa's thinking, oh, well, what happened? Ryan's just playing his bigger, better players and he's just frustrated. He didn't know how good of a shooter I was. He probably thought I was always a bad shooter. So this is what happens after college. So like I said, I wanted to talk to my mom and dad about the past, but my grandpa came up with a rule, if you're in the flow, you never talk about the past because you're in an eternal moment. But he didn't want me to talk about the abuse that happened. Because he's like, if you're in the flow, you're in the eternal moment. So you don't, because I always saw my grandpa as a victim blamer, but he'd be like, same thing about people who were raped. He'd be like, yeah, people who are raped and they continue to talk about their rape and they continue to get, to be absorbed in the rape, that's self-confirmatory. That's confirming the illusion of the separate self. And, rape itself is self-confirmatory. And my grandpa would probably blame the rapist, the person who's raped too, say it was his software. He invited that into experience. So, so he didn't want me to ever talk about the abuse that happened to me. And I thought that was fine. I was cool with that. I didn't care about that. But when I wanted to talk to my dad and mom about, when I figured out about the shoot-away machine after college, I knew I couldn't talk to them about the past, so I didn't talk to them about it. But when I wanted to talk to, get help from my mom and dad, like, hey, can you guys help me get basketball videos and can we move on? And, can I talk to dad? Can I see dad? Mom, no, don't you remember how you treated him in the past? Just after I discovered the quadrant, my mom's like, you're schizophrenic. No, I wasn't schizophrenic. I discovered the theory of everything. But she immediately jumped on it. And like I said, I think the reason why she did was because she wanted to be like, oh, this is the reason why your shot got messed up because you were becoming mentally ill. So she immediately jumped on the idea that I was schizophrenic. Like I said, even if it wasn't for the shooting machine, I think if I would have showed if my mom and dad didn't already hate me, and were mad at me about the shooting machine, about my shot that got messed up, they would have, if I showed them the Quad Mall, they wouldn't have immediately been like, oh, you're schizophrenic, because they already hated me because of the fucking, what happened. So, so this is what happened like 2016. Like I said, my grandpa started teaching me again, but I'm trying to tell my grandpa about the shoot away machine. I'm like, Grandpa, you know, it was a shoot away machine. It wasn't bigger, better players. This was happening in the 7th grade. It was right when my dad got the shoot away machine. It was a shoot away machine. And my grandpa was like, Ryan, if you were in the flow, it doesn't matter if you're practicing on a shoot away machine, however you're practicing. If you're in the flow, you're going to shoot good. And I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about, Grandpa. Even my dad would know it's about the form and all that, but it really is about how you move into it. If you're just practicing natural, like what I was without the shoot away machine, I would have been great. I would have been perfect. I was the best. I was unconscious. And my grandpa's like, no, if you were in the flow, it wouldn't matter. And I was like, Grandpa, you don't know. And my grandpa was like, well, look at what's the guy's name? Sean Marion or something, who has a funny looking shot. I think his name's Sean Marion. He's like, look at Sean Marion. He has a funny looking shot. And he's a great shooter. It shouldn't matter if you were practicing on the shooting machine. If you were in the flow, so he's blaming me again. My grandpa's blaming me, making me the bad guy. It was because you weren't in the flow. That's why your shot got messed up. This was like 2017, 2018, I don't know. And I'm like, Grandpa, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know about basketball. And my grandpa's like, you're right, I don't know. So then, and neither did your dad. So why did you expect your dad to know how to fix your shot? Or why do you expect help from your dad? Why were you trying to get help from your dad? And I was like, Grandpa, my dad helped me my whole life. My dad was the reason why I was a great shooter. When I was young, my dad would say, hey, shoot sideways. But again, he obviously didn't know what he meant. It was because I had my left foot pointed out. But I think it was because when I started shooting overhead, my dad thought, maybe it was different. I don't know. But my dad messed it up. But the thing was, I was a great shooter when I was younger because my dad would, if there was ever any problem, I'm shooting with my feet too wide, anything, my dad would fix it. He would be like, hey, Ryan, you're shooting with your feet too wide. So I never had to think about my shot. But then when the shooter actually messed up my shot, my dad didn't know how to fix it because my dad clearly didn't know. But my grandpa was like, well, why did you expect your dad to know? He didn't know anything about basketball. Same thing with me. So why do you expect him to know? He's trying to make me into the bad guy. The fact of the matter is, I don't give a fuck. The shoot away messed up my shot. Now let's move on. Why are you guys trying to make me into the bad guy? Just listen to me. So if it wasn't for the shoot away machine, it wouldn't have messed up the shot. If you were in the flow. I'm like, no, Grandpa, you don't know what you're talking about. And again, that was the thing. Like, that was always the thing. I always saw as victim blaming. And it could be true. I think it's true in a lot of cases. The victim is not always innocent. I understand. Sometimes the victim is to blame. Or my grandpa would say, it's not the victim, it's the software. Yes, sometimes the software is to blame. But in my case, it was the shoot away machine. Because I was perfect. I was unconscious. It was the shoot away machine. Dad messed it up and then he tried to fix it the wrong way. And yes, it was just tragic. Now let's move on. But they won't move on. I just want to be like, hey, if anything, it's a good thing. I'm like, hey, I figured it out. It was a tragic situation. I'm not mad at Dad. I know he wanted what was best. He thought the shoot away machine would help. He was trying to help me. I know. Let's move on. I just want your help and support now. I want some help, support, kindness, to be able to talk to my mom and dad. But they're the ones who are stuck in the past, not me. Because I tried to tell my mom, it was a shoot away. Oh my God, you're stuck in the past. Don't talk about the past. It was a shoot away machine. So, and like I said, I wanted to get basketball videos when I was younger. So after college, when I graduated, like I said, I went to Israel. I saw, I was on an Orthodox Jewish trip. I never knew about Orthodox Judaism. So I got confused and I was like, these people are actually white supremacists. I always thought that religious people were white supremacists. I go back to Kauai. My grandpa's teaching me is like metapsychiatry stuff, which I thought was white supremacist, spiritual white supremacist stuff. And I became more communist. And I was always communist. I was anti-white communist. So, and like I said, I just wanted to get basketball videos when I was younger. And I want to talk to mom and dad, but they're like, no, talk about the past. No, your dad's never going to talk to you. We're never going to see you, ever. Don't you remember how you were in high school? Yeah, because it's a shoot away machine. So, my shot is, I'm trying, and so I want to get basketball videos. But like I said, I asked my mom and dad for help. If they just would have helped me, if they just would have listened to me, they would have been able to talk to my friends. Hey, or my friends' dads. Hey, do you guys have any basketball videos? But, you know, and stuff like that. But then I had to do it myself, and I was scared. I was scared to ask people. Like my friend Malik, I thought that he might have basketball videos, but I was too afraid to ask him because I was too afraid he might say no. And if he said no, I thought that I would never get him because then he would want to never seem like he lied. And I didn't. I thought maybe he wouldn't want to go out of his way to give me basketball videos. So I didn't ask him because I was too scared. And like I said, my grandpa would be like, well, you weren't in the flow. You were trying to make things happen. You were using your ego strategies. No, if I had my mom and dad's help, if all this victim blaming, all this crap wouldn't have happened, then I would have figured it out. I mean, it would have been a lot easier. But I was on my own. And I was being abused by him. I was being abused by everybody. Victim blaming, all this shit. So, you know, even after the... Okay, so like probably around 2016, I was staying in San Diego, and I ended up living in my car because I wanted to go to Los Angeles. My mom and I wanted to get a place in Los Angeles. Okay, it's a long story, but so I was living in my car, and I ended up bumping into Malik at a Altadena 24-hour fitness or whatever. And I wanted to ask him, do you have any basketball videos? Because I want to study the swag flow. And, you know, I really was the best. And I want to study that stuff. I want to study how I shot and all that stuff. And at that time, like I said, I was still shooting wrong. At that time when I met up with Malik, I looked at the videos of when I was younger and I started to fix my shot a little bit. But I was still shooting wrong. Because I noticed that I'm not going to go into details because I want to make a shooter sink. But like I said, when I was a good shooter, I shot my left foot out, right foot forward. Then, when my shot got messed up, I was shooting like this because I'm picking the ball off the rack. Then my dad told me to do this. Put my left foot forward and my right foot like this, so I'm shooting wrong like that. But then, when I was playing with Malik, I was moving into shots more naturally. So when I had the shooting machine, I would get the ball off the rack and I would go like this. And I would shoot. I'd be in the games and I'd do that. And that's what messed up my shot. But when I had basically, when I can't really explain it into detail without making good shooters think, so I can't do that. I can't explain the details. But I started catching the ball and going into it more naturally, as opposed to like catching it and going like this, which no good shooter does. But when I was like in 2018, when I was playing with Malik and stuff, or 2018, I was still catching the ball and I was still shooting with my left foot like this and my right foot like that. Because that's what my dad told me to do, and I still thought that was the right way to do it. I still thought that was the correct way. So I was still shooting wrong. And I hadn't studied the videos enough to really figure it out. But I was moving into shots better, but I was still shooting wrong. But I wanted to ask Malik, like, hey, do you have any basketball videos of when I was younger? But I was too afraid to ask him because, again, like, I was too afraid that he might be like, I don't know. He might not want to go out of his way to help me, you know? But I should have just asked him, right? My grandpa would be like, oh, you weren't in the flow. You know, if it was ego strategies, you were scared. Like, yeah, I didn't have faith. I wasn't in the flow. Yes, it would have been better if I just asked him. But again, I was on my own. I was living in my car. I didn't have any help from my mom and dad. If my mom and dad would have just been able to talk to Malik or talk to Malik's dad. You know, my mom and dad helped me my whole life. My mom was always supportive of me. But then she turned into this monster who's the opposite of supportive of me. My mom always comforted me. She was always supportive. But then she turned into this like, you're just a mentally ill, schizophrenic loser. I hate you. We're never going to talk to you. We're never going to see you. So I wanted to ask Malik for videos, but I was too afraid to ask him. So when I bumped into him, and this is like 2017, 2018. Okay, so then, and I was going around the everywhere showing people the quadrant model, trying to get the quadrant model out because my mom thinks I have schizophrenia. If people would acknowledge the quadrant model, but the thing was my swag flow was off. And I hadn't studied, and I wanted more videos so I could study swag flow. My swag flow was off. And like I said, I lost the swag flow in college after I looked at the videos, and I want to get more videos. So just everything was going out of control. So I'll get more to it in the next lecture. But And my grandpa's like, it wasn't the shoot away machine. It was, you were playing this bigger play. If you were in the flow, the shoot away, even if you were shooting on the shoot away, you still would have been at a good shot. No, it's not true. That's not true. The shoot away messed up my shot, messed up everything. So, and my grandpa, like I said, my grandpa didn't help. My grandpa made me even more crazy. It made me so insane. So I'll get more into it in the next lecture.